How y'all doing? Good. Y'all take a seat if you're not already in a seat somewhere. My name is Jared. I'm glad to be here. It's good to see you. Y'all doing all right? Oh, good. We've done that a few times. I like it. So tonight we're going to continue our series. We're going to do a bunch of weeks of parables. Let me check that out. Oh, that looks nice. I like that. I went here last week listening to about 7 minutes of Justin's message so far, so hopefully I'll get the rest. But I did get a few things from that first 7 minutes. I was saying, here's a definition. I love this. He said, little stories about things you know to tell you about things you don't know. I loved it. Like simple, this parable, these simple stories with deeper truth in them, right? Like the kingdom is like an iPhone. The kingdom is like a gym. The kingdom is like a soccer player and their club. And and then it goes, then there's a story, or then there's something else about it. And then after that, you like some kind of description or some kind of piece there. And then we're able to see more. Like there's a crowd out there and you go, oh, look at this. It's something you understand, something you know. It might be simple. It might be really, and some of them they're really complex and you need an explanation from Jesus, or you might need an explanation from me to be able to tell you about this before I show you how that's somehow something about the kingdom of God. I mean, that's what this is doing. It's allowing you to handle these, or it's allowing for them, the context it's written in, to handle some of these new thoughts, to be able to go, oh, I get what you're saying there. That's different than what everybody's been telling us in the past. And so you're going to help us see that. It's actually what we do a lot of times in here in variations in different ways. But like as you tell story, or as you tell things that happen, you're able to watch and see and understand. In these parables, Jesus isn't just telling a story though. So he's getting people to see this kingdom. Like there is something that they're not understanding. And so their imagination is being stirred. When you read and experience them, then you ask questions, and sometimes you have to really think to be able to handle what's going on, because and a lot of times in the Gospels it's changing, it's flipping, it's turning on upside down, it's rewriting what has already been written in their world. Because their hearts have a different thing written on them. Their hearts actually have this eternity written on them. And so he's unraveling that for them. And so when we get in, sometimes I said they're complex, and sometimes they're needing a little bit of explanation. But Justin said this last week too. He said sometimes they don't line up apples for apples. Like they're not just right there straightforward. But guess what? Tonight's going to be an easy one. Tonight's just going to hit you right in the face. I don't think we're going to have to search for the meaning. And actually we can go watch the Astros and Rangers if you want to, if you're not already watching in your seat. And here's the answer: be watchful. That's it. Y'all ready to go? That ain't happening. So here's where I was last week. I was in New Orleans with myself, actually. I was just in New Orleans, and I went down there and was doing some things to learn about church planting and how to train people and blah, blah. If you want to know more about that, I would love to talk to you for hours about that. It was really intriguing. But I get there, and so here's what I don't know is, like, I'm gone from my family, haven't been gone for a long period of time, in a long time, and like I've got somebody at the house, and 3 somebodies, but one more than the rest of them, who's like alert and vigilant, and like she's got this watchfulness going on, and she is ready. And so here's the context. And so my wife Carrie has just figured out that you can see where I am at all times. Like she just figured this out. I mean, it's been a little while, but like she just figured out, and just simply like not like Life 360, but like just like this, like she's got Find My app, right? She just opens it up and like looks for me now. I don't know if she didn't know, but like now I catch her, like she says it in conversation, like she'll say where I'm at. And I'm like, why do you know where I'm at? Like, why do you do that? Because like old people don't do that. We don't just like look for where other people are. We think that's stalking. But like she's like, so don't share where you're at. But like here, she's figured that out. And so that's the context. So what I do is I'm headed back from New Orleans, right? And I drop off Tracy Graham, who lives south of town in St. Charles Place, and then I get out and I'm coming back. So I don't know this, but Millie is watching on the phone, and like she's got me, and like she sees it happening. And I don't remember when the long road was, but like when I got home, she was like, I couldn't wait. I knew you'd gotten off the long road and you were almost here. So I guess that was like the dot was on the same thing for a really long time. But like I'm get out of St. Charles Place, coming back here. I got to get back on Southern Loop, and I'm passing North Ferry, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to stop and see some of my buddies. It's Wednesday night. Like, I'm never out in that context. I'm just going to jump in and say what's up to Jared Clary. So I turn right, and I get in the parking lot, and something about me goes, no, man, I got to get home before my kids go to sleep. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock. It's somewhere in there. And so I pull through the parking lot. I make a little circle, and I come back. And, I don't know if Millie was watching me or not, but, I come back out, and it's like, oh, yeah! But, y'all, after I get there, it could have been a longer delay. I probably would have, I would have thought, I'm going to go in there, I'm just going to say what's up, and then get right back out of here, and I would have been there in an hour. That's just how it worked. I would have stayed, I would have hung out to the very end, but it could have been a longer day, but I wanted to see my family. So from Millie's perspective, here's what happened. She got, she's got the phone, and she's doing, she's mapping me out. I haven't really asked her. I need to ask her about what that looks like, but why is she watching, right? Why is she watching? Because she was going to be ready when Daddy gets home. She wants to be ready. And what does ready mean? Ready means she runs to the door, she runs out the door, she comes up, she goes, I call her the leech. She leeches on me for however long she wants to do that, and then she does all these squealies, and then she does some dance moves, and then she does more of that little stuff. But she goes bananas. She gets all that from her mom. But her joy is increased. Why? Because she could see Daddy was on his way. She could see it. In this section of Scripture we're about to look at, I want you to know that the Father is close. I want you to be warned. I want you to be active. Man, are we just sitting there watching the dadgum baseball game? She wasn't. Millie's not, she is watching that thing and ready, and Carrie said she was going bananas before I got, but she was ready for Daddy. Be warned, be active, and be prepared, even if there is a long delay. So we're going to look at 3 texts tonight. They just kind of walk in succession and kind of tell this story, 3 different parables that work together. And so if you open your Bible to Matthew chapter 24, we'll start in verse 42, if you look there. Therefore, be on alert, for you do not know which day your Lord is coming. I told you it was going to be simple, right? There's there's a warning that the Lord is coming. Here it is. Be sure of this. If the head of the house had known at what time of the night the thief was coming, he would have been on the alert and would not have allowed his house to be broken into. For this is the reason you must be ready. For the Son of Man is coming at the hour when you do not think he will. If you knew, right, if you knew only time someone was going to break in your house was December the 3rd of 2026, would you be ready? Absolutely, right? You would, actually, here's what else you would do probably, right? You wouldn't have an alarm anymore because you wouldn't spend that money. You might even have locks or keys or any of that other kind of stuff. Think through this. If you knew the only time that something was going to happen was right here, it's going to be, what I wrote down, December 3rd, 2026, you would be prepared. Here's, what advantage does Kevin have over the wet bandits? He knows they're coming. It's a Home Alone reference. He knows, right? Kevin knows. And so he can do what any person would think they could do. If somebody was coming in, he's got all this stuff done and all these things, and he wins the battle, right? He takes care of them. He's got it down. If you knew, you would be ready. But since you don't know, right? This isn't saying you know, so you do whatever you want to do whatever, and then, got it out. Get out my whatever you got ready for the wet bandits, right? No. Here, he says, since you don't know, he will come when you do not expect. That's not to be scary. It's to equip you with foreknowledge. Do you see that? God equips you with some understanding that you know the future. You don't know all of it. I understand that. You don't know everything out there. Yes, here's where we spend a lot of our time, right? Because you want to be ready. You understand this eternity. So I think that should change things in our life, maybe your everyday life, something in your life. And so if you know the future, but not all of it, well, how does that help? Well, man, I don't know who I'm going to get married to, or I might not know what it's going to look like in the end, or I don't know how big of a house I'm going to have, or I don't know what my next job will be, or I don't know a lot of these things. And so sometimes I feel unprepared for all of that, but what you do know, right? What you do know from this text is that he is returning at a time that we cannot know. And how will you be ready? Man, I know we mess around with a lot of things that we're trying to control and trying to fix and trying to do. But clearly here we can see that since you don't know, he is coming unexpectedly. Be watchful. Be watchful. The next one says this in 24:45. Who then is the faithful and sensible slave whom his master put in charge of the household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is the slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes. So when you look at this, you're going to have a faithful and a wicked one. You're going to have a good one, and you're going to have two guys here. 47, truly I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. Cool for that first guy. Second, but if that evil slave says in his heart, my master is not coming for a long time, and begins to beat his fellow slaves and eat and drink with drunkards, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour which he does not know, and will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. If you ever think Jesus is just a little loving person, you need to read 51 a couple more times. That is not like a separation. That is a cut in two. That word dichotomeo is literally I cut in two. Man, that's scary if you don't have faith in Jesus. That's scary. There's an unexpected time that man, not to be passive in this, but it's just not enough to be passive. To be sitting in a place like, look, we've got two guys, right? We got two guys in this parable, and one is promoted and one is cut in two. We got a faithful servant doing what he's asked, doing what he's like doing what he's assigned. And you see what? You see in 47 that truly I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. Like, what a great inheritance. What a great story to this faithful one. But at the same time, there's not just one guy, right? There's a second one. And then as we're hearing this story, as they're hearing this story, they're kind of contemplating, man, am I the faithful? This is a really good place where you can go. You can really self-assess and go, where am I in this picture? A lot of times in the Bible, I go, don't do that. Here in the Bible, I go, do that. Go, faithfulness. Is there faithfulness in their life? Is there just wickedness in my life? Am I doing this other thing? Look what the wicked servant does. He goes, convinced he's got time, what does he do? He abuses his fellow servants and parties. He abuses his fellow servants and he parties. There's an abuse instead of stewardship. Man, if we're self-assessing in this room right now, man, what are the things that we're abusing? What are the things that we're handling with good stewardship because God has handed them to us, for his glory, and to make his name known on this earth? The faithful servant is doing what he's asked. What's he asked? Man, look at Matthew 28:18-20. Like, he is with me. He has sent me. He has the authority. When you're looking at these scriptures, do these things to one another. There's 59, 61 of those in the New Testament. Man, love one another, encourage one another. Like, there's great things in this text to do that's been assigned to us. I mean, that we should, that when we work through this thing and we seek and save that which is lost, the same reason that Jesus came. There's a faithful servant. There's a wicked that you see him abusing instead of stewardship. But then you also see him feeding on the world's binges, right? That one, ouch. He's feeding. Look what it says that he does. He says, and begins to beat his fellow slaves. This is the abuse, and eat and drink with drunkards. Carousing. He's feeding on this world's binges. Now if you go, man, like the alcohol, the drunkenness, that's something I get stuck on, and I'll be, like that'll be a denominational thing or something that really messes you up as you think about this text, man, roll out of that and roll into something else and understand that as we binge on the things of this world, as they try to supply our need, man, we're running after the wrong thing. And the faithful servant is here approaching back to God and doing what he asked, transformation of mind and heart and soul and body, and going, hey, I want to walk in your way so that I can work to your way. Like, that's the beauty of this. He's good. That's a readiness. That's a preparedness. That's an active watchfulness. As he watches the faithful servant for the Christ to return, not knowing when he's going to come, he's going to be active in that. Active is faithful. Active is not wicked. If you're not actively waiting on somebody to get home, you've not listened to the Gospels. For some of us, maybe you've never heard the gospel. And it simply is that Jesus came so that you might have life, where you were separated from God, because all have been separated from God. He created, he made a way for us to live in creation with him. We rebelled. We were removed from that right relationship. And he has worked out a way that we can be reconciled back to him, God the Father, through his Son. He sent his Son so that we might have life. And that Son lived a life full for us, without sin, so that he could be sin, pay that penalty on our behalf. He died, was buried 3 days, and rose again so that you might have life. You have life in him by putting your faith in him. Man, this is a faithful servant. If you're not actively waiting on somebody, Jesus, to get home, then you've not heard the gospel, which you just did, or you're not listening to the Gospels. So the first one is, man, it's unexpected. Be ready. It's active in its watchfulness. And then the last one is this. There's a preparedness in our watchfulness. So the setting of this last one, this one's a little bit different. It's not hard to understand, but it ain't the easiest. So here's what this one hands is. There's a marriage custom going on, and so there's in yours it may say 10 virgins, 10 maidens, 10 something, but there's 10 people. Like the context of being a virgin doesn't matter here. So you got the 10 people, 10 ladies. It only matters for where they would be in the story. And so you got this marriage custom. I'm going to explain that. You got these 10 maidens, and then you got lamps with oil. So this is kind of what's going on here. So here's what Expositor Bible Commentary says about this. I loved it. It says, normally the bridegroom with some close friends left his home to go to the bride's home, and then these 10 virgins are likely helping the bride as they expect the arrival of the groom. And then there would be various ceremonies followed by a procession through the streets after nightfall to his home, and then everyone in the procession was expected to carry his or her torch. And so those without a torch, like this lamp with oil, those without a torch would be assumed to be party crashers. I love that. These festivities may, which might last several days, would formally get underway at the groom's house. And so you just have this setting. Now let's read the text. Let's see what the text says. So this is 25, 1 through 13, and we're going to read all of this. You'll catch at the end, 13 really grabs us again. So here goes. Then the kingdom of heaven will be comparable to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were prudent. There's your 10. Like you get to see that. 10 right there. For when the foolish took their lamps, they took no oil with them. But the prudent took their oil and flasks along with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom was delaying, they all got drowsy and began to sleep. So you see the delay there. Sleep doesn't matter. They all fall asleep, right? So don't just go, some of them fall asleep. We need to be awake. That's not what this is telling us. They're all asleep. But at midnight, there was a shout, behold the bridegroom. So this is like that climax. This is like this when you get the eschatological view, like this end times. You see there's a climax here. Here he comes. Behold, the bridegroom. Come out to meet him. Then all those virgins rose and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the prudent, give us some of your oil. I'm going to explain this a second. Let me just read through it first. For our lamps are going out. But the prudent answered, no, there will not be enough for us and you too, stingy suckers. Go instead to the dealers and buy some for yourselves. Man, I can't see myself saying that, but I don't know. And while they were going away to make the purchase, the bridegroom came. And those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. Later, the other virgins also came, saying, Lord, Lord, open up for us. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. 13, be on alert then, for you do not know the day nor the hour. You see this like throughout these texts that there's a watchfulness that should be, because we don't know. There's a watchfulness that is producing, that is happening in these texts, and he's showing you some things as you work through them. There would be an activeness. Now there's a preparedness in there. So let's see what it looks like in as we walk through this text. So what happens in verse 2 through 5 is if you look back with me, is the wise bring extra oil while the foolish do what? They don't do it. They either don't bring any oil or they don't bring any extra. It really doesn't say. But either way, like if they didn't bring any, right, they're not prepared at all for them. And if they didn't bring extra, they're not prepared if there's a delay. So like it's a little, you can't see exactly what's happening there for them, but you know that they're not prepared like the others, okay? And so you see this as there's a wise and a foolish way to be prepared. And so then what happens is you see the rush of not being ready. Does anybody like, man, I got that. Like I feel the rush of not being ready. Like I've done that before. Like here's what it looks like for me is like you get that moment in your mind, we got to go. And like it could happen to you right now. Like you forgot your mom's birthday and it's right now, right? And you're like, oh, get up, and you run out of this. If I reminded somebody, go do it. Like that's the idea. But like something came out of nowhere, or you forgot something, or like this happens all the time with my phone. Like my phone is somewhere in the house, but I gotta go. But I gotta get my phone before I go. And so like there's this we gotta go, but I'm not ready. Like I don't have the stuff that I need. And so like that's whatever it is. Or you were just like slacking or lazy or procrastinating, and so when it's we gotta go, we're not really ready to go because we haven't prepared to go yet, whatever that might be. And there's a lot of other scenarios that happen when you're going, it's go time, right? But in this text, like you've got verse 6, it's go time. Like verse 6 says, behold, he's coming. Like he had been delaying in 5, right? Now, while the bridegroom was delaying, they all got drowsy and began to sleep. It's not that they're asleep. You don't have to stay up all night waiting on Jesus to return. There's a preparedness that we understand in this text that goes, okay, there's going to be a delay. So if there's an unexpected long delay, am I going to get distracted? Am I going to be ready? That's the question I ask when I'm in the middle of this text. He says, in this climactic moment, behold, midnight there was a shout, and behold, the bridegroom come out to meet them. This morning when I was leaving the house, I'm gonna give you the confession. So like I love to confess in here, especially because my wife and kids are here, so I like to roll out the confession because they don't get to see what actually happens in Dad's life all the time, and he just looks gold from the outside. So this morning, here's what happened as we were leaving the house, and my wife says, you're going to be late. You're going to be late. And like you're getting that like, you're going to be late. You're going to be late. And I'm like, I'm piddling, baby. Like, I feel like I got all the time in the world because I know it. Here's the problem, though. In our house, do any of y'all have this? You got clocks on different times. Carrie's got one that's like, how many minutes faster is it, Judah? Like, no, it ain't no 5. When we get home, I'll check that and I'll let y'all know. But like it's a lot. They're so different, and like, so you have to remember which one's right, which one's whatever it is. But like this morning, so we do that, and I'm saying the kids are into it too. So like I know, like they like have all their stuff, and they're like ready to walk out the door, and I'm just like, no. We got this. Like, we got time. I'm going to drop off Millie and then drop off Judah at school. And like, I feel like we got plenty of time. We never been late before. 7 years track record. Like, let me go. And so, but Carrie's like, we gonna be late. And I'm hearing it, and I'm going, right? My mind's going, I got time. Now here's the full picture. I was not late. I called my wife. When I got out of the line on the second one, I called her and said, we ain't late. What was it, 40? Whatever it was, we were earlier than we normally are. And I was like, yes. I was not late, but I was not prepared. It wasn't anything big, but I got to the office, sat down at my desk, came down to get my coffee like I normally do, went back up to my office, and sat down, ready to work, 7:45. I didn't bring my computer. Why? It was at the house. So what do? I get up, I go home, my wife is on a walk. I know this, so I'm going to get in the house, get my computer, get back out, be gold, right? Get home, go right to the chair where it is. It's not there. Why? Because it was in the back of my truck the entire time, but I went home to get it and came back, and I got to work at 7:45, but I started work at 8:30, and my computer was with me the entire time. Here's what I'm saying to you is the I've got more time mentality does this to us. It makes us lazy. It puts us in a place where, man, day after day or moment after moment, or we lose 45 minutes here and 45 minutes there because, man, we don't know what we want to do with what God has given us. This operating system that's running in the back of my mind that says, I've got more time, is not a good operating system. And we don't exactly say, Jesus isn't coming back today. We just live that way, right? We didn't say it out loud. No, he's not coming back. He's going to wait. He's going to wait a long time. I'll get ready. Like it'll be okay later. We don't say that out loud. We just act like it. And our things on our to-do list don't seriously think it's going to happen. Today. Right now. Tomorrow. Anytime soon. So there's really no tension. It's just an understanding. We know he's going to come back, but he'll wait till I do all the things I want to do, right? Or I can carry on in the way I want to because I'll be prepared in the moment because at some point I said yes to Jesus. And that life is not pictured in these texts. The life that's pictured in these texts, the faithful one says, be watchful, be alert because it's unexpected. The one in this text says, look, it's not a passive but an active. Like do this. And this text would say, look, there's a wise and a foolish way to handle this. So walk wisely in it. When the time runs out, the preparation can no longer be shared. That might be one of the hardest things in this text. Is they don't get to just pour the oil in the other lamp. Because when the bridegroom, no matter how long he delays, when he comes back, it's final. It's ultimate. It's the end. And for some, it's glorious. And for some, cut in two. Man, be on alert then, for you do not know the day nor the hour. To be prepared, I should. I got this list from a guy named Mike Livingstone. I just thought they were good. It says, to be prepared, to be watchful, to be on watch. Live in light of his first coming. Somebody else says, pursue Christ-likeness now. And when you grab this and you get that in your mind and you've wrestled with it a little bit and you pray in a minute during this song and you're responding to God, what do I do, man? God, would you help me in my Christ-likeness? I want to live in light of your first coming like you made a way for me. I want to make a way for others. He says, be discerning, accept the uncertainties. Don't lose hope. Man, there's going to be things that happen to you. You will suffer. Like we've talked about that before. You will suffer. Don't lose hope. And a watchfulness is that he will return and restore to the right. You're an heir. You're a child. Man, good things. Don't lose hope. Encourage one another. There's other faithful ones out there who may be in the midst of pain and struggle and strife. When they are suffering, walk beside them. And encourage one another. Live as if today was the day. I love that. If you woke up today and you didn't live today like it was the day, man, do it tomorrow. I'm just inviting you in. And then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and you'll be watchful. You'll be ready. And then the last one is this, which I think lines up great with this John Piper quote. Keep on doing the work Jesus left us to do. Work faithfully for Christ is how Piper says it. And he says this, his quote is, to watch means to do your job really well for Christ's sake. Man, take that home. I'm going to read it again. To watch means to do your job really well for Christ's sake. They had an assignment. Have your lamps, have your oil. Respond to the announcement when it's given. Light the way of the bridegroom in. And they did their job just the way they should. and they entered in. They were morally, spiritually, and you might say professionally awake. They did their job the way God meant for them to do it. I just have a simple challenge for you as we close. My ask is this, is that you really look at the full picture and decide that you're going to, and decide if you're in, God's glorifying rhythms and habits of obedience and affection for Jesus. You're just going, okay, am I in this? Is this, if I look at this, if I look at what's going on in my life and I really self-assess and I take a picture and I can see it, man, am I in these God-glorifying rhythms of obedience and affection for Christ where it's just I'm going to be ready. If we take that look in, here's what I want you to do. It's on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you? And this is how my mind thinks. 1, I'm laying on the couch and I got all day. Laying on the couch and I got all day. This is life with very little expectation of Jesus' return. Maybe 5, dressed but can't find your keys, right? I want to be ready, but I'm not sure if I am. And 10, man, you're headed to the car and you're trying to get other people or pick them up. Man, Jesus Christ's return impacts everything that you do. And just take a little inventory. Thomas Schreiner, a professor at Southern Seminary, he's discussing the end times. I was watching a video that Chuck Pusho, pastor here, sent out. It was about the war in Israel, but he was discussing it through this lens of end times because they were trying to put all this together. But what I loved is it just really helped me to think about the readiness, the watchfulness. And he says, Schreiner says this, as I understand New Testament eschatology, the end times, as I understand that, every generation has rightfully thought, this is probably the end. And then he says this, he says, God has orchestrated his revelation. This is the things that we know. So that we say to ourselves, this is probably the end of time. If this is true, I think it's been true for all of mankind, post-Christ, let's be preparing for it always. Let's be headed to glory, to heaven, to the presence of God, and let's be asking and wanting and finding people and telling people so that they can go with us. Man, what a way to go. Be watchful. Man, be watchful. Can you see it in your mind, a little dot moving? It's getting closer. It's getting closer. I see it coming down. I don't see it going across like Louisiana. I see it coming down. It's coming. It's coming. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. Now, what a day when he returns. And what a task before he gets here. Let's pray.